don't have a hunting background.
Wow.
Boom.
Wow. I'm liking that intro more and more every week.
Nick, you get exactly 5 reps down between the intro and then the gun goes back in the gun cabinet before anybody can see what you're actually doing.
That's my routine. How was my form, Doug?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Did my right elbow come up high enough?
I was going to say you were a little stiff on the elbow, but other than that, it looked good. In dry fly, yes, I dinked up the time, and it still shows that we shouldn't be live for another 5 or 6 minutes. So that is my bad, and I am sorry. It happens.
Well, there's already people up there, so
that's all that matters.
Judy and Tracy, do you know you can see the live comments on the side?
Oh yeah, good reminder.
I was wondering what you. No, I don't see
where it says private chat. I don't have anything, or does it?
I don't have anything.
Click comments next to private chat.
Okay. Got it.
We are. Got it.
No, I'm just going to be watching that the whole night now.
Oh, it's like a show within a show. Yep. They call themselves the H3 Degenerates.
Yeah. Everybody that's on that thing usually just is taking jabs at all of us. So it's.
I think I did that a couple weeks ago.
Mostly me, but
yeah,
it's I'm very self-deprecating anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Where are we simulcasting today, Doug?
So we are on YouTube, and then we're on Ron's Facebook tonight.
Nice.
Oh, we are? I didn't know that.
We are.
HD
I got the
oils.
password now, so I'm going to start doing all kinds of stuff on Ron's Facebook.
I'll tell everybody how I met Doug. He called me up a couple years ago, and he says, "Hey, you don't know me, but I listen to your podcast, but your Instagram sucks." I'm like, so? He goes, "No, you need an Instagram." I'm like, I don't need an Instagram. And he goes, "No, yes, you do need an Instagram." So that's how we got to know.
It's been heavenly bliss ever since, right?
Oh yes, just heavenly.
Going on almost 2 years now.
Tracy, could you look at the camera instead of something up in the corner of the?
Right.
This isn't the Brady Bunch. You can't look down and ask.
I know, right?
Hard. Ready?
I'll just see if you were paying attention.
Lady who was busy with 3 dogs of her own.
Something hunting.
All right, so I suppose I should do intros because I'm the only one that knows these 2 girls.
Which way do I have to go there? Not.
I gotta find. Hang on, I gotta find a cigar that can stay lit.
This is not good radio.
We need our elevator music, Doug.
What's that?
We need our elevator music. Maybe I should pipe some of that in.
There you go.
That would be great.
Somebody buy me a soundboard.
So, all right. So anyway, tonight this wasn't on purpose, but we just thought we should have some women, join us. This is always yeah.
I think this is important to point out that, Ron, you did get a haircut and trimmed your beard the first time we had ladies on the Hunter's Happy Hour.
Wow.
Look, when I met Judy, she used to cut my hair. And if she saw what it looked like 2 weeks ago, she probably would have just fainted. It was like.
I saw it.
Oh,
it was scary.
Yeah, it was. That's why it was Ronnie walking that week.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know when people say women are the growing number. First, when I got into dog world, I met Judy Balog. Shortly after, I met Tracy Harmeyer. So I've known you both for over 20 years, messing around with Navda, and I joined the Northern Michigan chapter of Navda, where I was 2 hours from the northern grounds and 2 hours from the southern grounds, and I went up to. They used to have a January meet and greet, for new members. And I went up, I met everybody from that chapter. I was like, oh, it's a bunch of drunks. I'm going to get along fine with them. And then when I had my first dog that I was going to try to do something in Versatile World with, and I was a Navda judge or apprentice.
That does not have a dog on it.
Are you talking? Talking? Tracy, hello.
Sorry, my son's in here and he's driving me nuts.
Tell your son I will kick his ass if he doesn't go straight on. So anyway.
I don't need a picture on there.
Tracy, do you need a minute with Anthony?
There we go.
Whoa,
I got my green screen back, and there we go.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Fancy.
No.
You know what? That's what I'm going to do.
Picture behind me.
He's putting us all to shame right out the gate here.
Yeah, right. Nice
Thank
move.
you, Anthony.
So anyway, I then needed some help with a certain black wire hair.
Oh,
That
man.
remember Haskell, Judy?
Oh, Haskell. The gorilla face.
Never forget that dog.
Yeah, he looked like a silverback gorilla.
He totally was, too. Oh my gosh.
He was quite the beast.
He had coal black pig eyes. I mean, there were no pupils in that dog's face.
There were.
No.
And I then when I was I know what it was. I was trying to become a judge, and I needed to pass him in a test.
Hey,
So-
he was the only dog to ever get 2 goose eggs in the duck search.
That's right. Yeah. And one was an
this is gonna be a
actual
fun night.
egg of a goose. Actual egg of a goose. So anyway, I went up to Tracy's or Al and Tracy and what's your husband's name, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I went up to their kennel for some help with force fetch because my dog I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all.
And
And
Haskell knew it.
well, I still don't know what I'm doing. But
I wasn't going to say anything.
it's all open season here, Judy. Because in the second hour, I'm going to tell stories about Judy and Tracy that they're all open season. But I went up there, and I'll never forget. Tracy was pregnant with Anthony, and she was force breaking Haskell. And I never force broke a dog other than trying to do it with Fritos in the truck. Like, funny how you say fetch, and he grabs that Frito right out of your hand. It's like, I got this shit.
It
I got
worked. It worked.
it works. And so Tracy had him for a couple weeks, and I went back up to go get him, and she takes him down to the water over on LL over there, and he refuses to go do what he was told to do. And Tracy's about, I'm exaggerating, but somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks from having a baby. And he grabs this 80-pound dog by the collar and the ear onto his back legs and marches him around the pond. And I'm going, oh.
Don't ever mess with a woman on estrogen.
I'm like, I don't know. And then Judy's just as tough. She had the toughest Weimaraner in the world to train.
Oh, no, he wasn't that tough. He just didn't like you.
That's understandable.
Everybody likes me. But yeah, so these are two of the first people I met in Navda. So, and it's been a long, fun, happy relationship.
It has.
The only thing I regret is Judy didn't get into judging program because it would have been even more fun.
I know. Someday, maybe. Maybe
Yeah,
someday.
You never know.
Maybe.
Something to do in retirement, huh, Judy?
Right. Perhaps.
Cigars falling apart.
That's the sign of a cheap one, right?
Yeah, it is. It's on that whole box. Look at. I mean, you don't get good cigars when they sell them in 50s.
Quality over quantity.
That's right, Nick. I guess I forgot that last week you weren't with us.
I missed out. I missed you guys.
We missed you as well. It was a fun one too. I
heard.
made inappropriate noises with a turkey call.
Oh wow! Well, didn't we already do that on a previous episode?
Yeah, but this one was a little revisit of it. Oh, here comes that damn thing again.
That gobble call.
Uh-oh, we're not doing that yet. That's for the second hour.
That's the second half when we do tech talk with Uncle Ron.
Yeah, that's the second half. We don't.
Not really good.
Well, since Ron already hinted at the fact that he's going to try to embarrass the ladies in hour 2, maybe they should try to embarrass Ron in hour 1.
So
That is way
after
too
every
easy
question
of a
you
mark. I'm telling you, that is setting your goals really low. That's too easy of a job.
It'll come natural.
Try throwing a challenging question at him.
After every dog question, we're gonna hear something bad about Ron. We're gonna take him and break him off into smaller segments. So I guess maybe we can kick off if you
One thing I should say. So
Yeah.
because we're gonna have some questions that came in from people, and then there's gonna be questions that come up. So Tracy is part owner family of Crystal Creek Kennels in Cedar Grove, Wisconsin. German short hairs and small Munsterland. You still got small Munsterlanders, Judy or Tracy?
Well, I have 15 short hairs, 2 small Munsterlanders, and 1 Labrador.
Okay, 1 Labrador. And Judy comes from the Weimaraner world that transferred to the Point. What?
No. It's the Weimaraner world. I just have a pointer sidekick.
Okay, you just have.
That's really not.
As far as training questions go, it's like Tracy does it for a living. Judy's done it for her whole life as well, and taken dogs all the way to the invitational. And so I think it'd be good to get not contradictory, just differences. If someone's got a thing they do, we already pre-read one of the questions from someone who can write worse than me. I don't know if we can use that one, but so anyway, Doug, you're the moderator, you're the host, so.
But you kind of already stole some of my glory because I was going to have them introduce themselves because they probably would talk better about them than you just did. Well, they could have romanced a little bit, built it up. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. So, Tracy, you did not get the advantage of hearing some of the questions that we are going to ask, but I have a feeling that we'll get enough in the live comments to keep us busy for a while. So I'm going to pop this one up. So I'm about to introduce Force Fetch to a couple of pointing lab pups. Is the key to go slowly? They're retrieving great in the pond, but they are dropping retrieve short or want to take victory laps. It's hit or miss, which they do, but it's my male mostly. Female is retrieving full, just have to work on control mostly.
Oh, the females always seem to come along faster. The males come along slower because they ask every question right up front, and they're kind of dumb. And if they do it wrong, they just do it in front of you and go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I did that wrong for you."
We were talking about dogs.
We're talking about dogs here. I'm so sorry, Ron.
A lot of parallels.
But the females will ask questions, and I guarantee that female that you think's going along so fast is not. She's going to ask questions. It's just going to be when you're least expecting it. My husband says female dogs are kind of conniving, just like people. But before we start anything about dog training and whatnot, I always tell people when I go do seminars, when I go show people, I have people come up and train with me and show them how to train. Dog training is just like a roadmap. You can all take a different road and get to the same place. So you just have to work. You just have to figure out what works best for your dog. And that doesn't mean to keep changing things every couple of days. You need to give it some time. If you've done something with your dog 5 or 6 times and it doesn't get what you want, at least 80% of what you want, you have to either change how you're teaching it or how much you're teaching at a time. After about 5 or 6 times of doing something with a dog, they should at least be getting at least 80% of what you're trying to teach. I believe, it's always been my belief, this is what I'm kind of a specialist at the kennel. I'm doing force fetch. I don't know. I guess I'm well over 1,500 dogs that I force fetched in my career so far. I believe that force fetch, it's like putting duct tape on your arm. Does it feel better if you rip it off slow or if you rip it off fast? I believe in getting the pressure done and getting it over with. Now, what you're dealing with is not pressure. You're dealing with the after arguments, and that you just need to keep going. I believe it was Delmar Smith always said you can train a dog all day long as it's 10 minutes at a time. So, work them every day for 10 minutes. You got to figure out where the threshold is and go start there every day. And hopefully the next day you can start a little bit farther down the line and a little bit farther down the line until finally it's done. So if he's dropping retrieve short in the pond, a lot of times what I like to do is I like to throw it not swimming depth, make them walk in and walk out. And once they're good at walking in, walking out, then I go and make it go a little bit farther, and I make them swim just a little bit and then swim a little bit out. So I keep the retrieves really short. I may not make them swim for a retrieve when I first start going to the water. I may just make them walk in and walk out for 4 days, until I know that they're not going to shake off. They're not going to stop. They're not going to mess with it. I do. My method of force fetch is the ear pinch. And towards the end, I transfer it over to the e-collar so that I can just press a button if I need to, or I can grab the ear. But one of the things I don't know if you've taught your dog is I don't know if you've taught your dog indirect pressure. Now, this can get into a lengthy conversation on what indirect pressure is, but it basically is, and the retriever guys actually taught me this when I used to train retrievers with a retriever kennel.
Like this.
So what you do
Pressure off.
Your time's off.
When you go to the ground, if they don't pick it up, you tell them to come to you. And then you praise them. You tell them, hey, good dog, thanks for coming to me. You spin them around, face them toward the object. You grab the ear and you pinch it. You let go. And then you tell them to fetch. And you send them back to the object. If they don't pick it up, call them back to you. Tell them, hey, what a good dog. Thanks for coming. And as you're pinching the ear again, you take one step closer to the object and you let go and you send them back to the object. And what you're teaching them is if you don't bring the object back to me and you come back with nothing, you're going to get disciplined when you get back to me. I'm going to send you back over there to go get that. And that has been very successful for me.
That's after you've taken the dog through the process.
That's after you've taken the dog through the entire process and they know what the ear pinch is and they're picking things up off the ground. And you can send them, 20 feet and they'll go pick it up and bring it back. A lot of times, too, I see people struggle. The dog will go out and it'll grab something, and then it'll drop it, and they go fetch, and it'll pick it up, and then drop it. And they go fetch, and it'll pick it up, and then drop it. And they say fetch, and it'll pick it up, and it'll drop it. How about here? And then if it comes back with nothing, you pinch it, and you send it back. So that when you say here, they know they have to pick it up, bring it with, or they're going to get disciplined when they get back with nothing. Now, that also works in a test because if you're in a testing situation, now you only got one command. So it kind of works for both.
Judy, what's your background? When did you start messing with your first force fetch with a dog?
Training table, ear pinch.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much what Tracy just said. 10 minutes a day, and that's, it worked. Right now, I found that with my last few dogs that I really don't have to take them to the level that I took my first two to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do ear pinch still, but it's just not as tough on them.
Yeah.
I just haven't had to. It's more of a light force fetch, I always tell people.
Yeah, I've taken the last few dogs probably because they're Broncos, but they do retrieve on their own, so I just take them through the hold and carry process.
Yeah.
And never go to the ear pinch because I just wanted to say, like, when it stays in there till I take it out of the mouth. Yeah. And unless you're going for a test and you're looking for that super sharp shit, now he's doing labs, so he probably is gonna go through the whole thing. But
yeah. And I was going to say, when I see that, the force fetch is to fix one problem. The other piece that you're saying about it wanting to take victory laps and stuff, that's an obedience issue.
Yeah.
Force fetch isn't, like when I see it, I almost want to separate those two. I don't see force fetch fixing victory laps. That's a symptom of not doing obedience properly. And it's taking the time to teach here correctly. So if the push, that's... So I think you've got two kind of different things going on, but I don't know that the force fetch is necessarily going to fix the victory lap piece. Those are things that you're probably going to work on independently, because the force fetch will keep them holding it coming out of the water, but that's not going to prevent the victory laps.
Right. I guess what I would recommend if they start the victory lap is just to tell them to sit, because then they stop and they look at you and you go, "Hey, get over here now! Oh, what a good dog!"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy, you said something actually that kind of struck my curiosity, and I think I know exactly what you mean by the context of what you say, but I just maybe there's nothing under the surface, but I'm curious. You said the dog will ask questions, right? And you're kind of joking and saying, but I'm curious, like how might that look in a dog? Like what things are you seeing when you're saying a dog
I gotta do this today.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta do this today, and you're gonna have to do it tomorrow, and you're gonna have to do it the next day. It's just them not wanting to do the job. That's their questions. Yeah. They ask, are you sure I got to do this? Yep. Pick it up. Bring it here. You got to do this. Got to do it today. Got to do it tomorrow. Got to do it the next day. So, yeah.
Got it.
Hey, one thing I'll say or add, Ron, you mentioned the fetch and the hold. It always has me scratching my head why people teach hold. Teach fetch.
I don't teach hold.
Fetch is hold.
Yeah.
But so many people do. They say fetch, and when their dog picks up the bird, hold as they're coming back to them. It's like, no.
No, I totally agree. I don't teach hold. I do teach hold.
Short and sweet.
I use the kiss.
Right. I should. You're right. That's a good point.
A lot of people do it.
No, I agree with you, Judy, completely, and that's exactly what I do. Is I do teach hold, but I use the word fetch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't need one of those because I drink it fast enough that it doesn't get cold, doesn't get warm.
I take after Ron.
I like my fingers get very cold, and
They are kind of dainty.
my circulation.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I got to tell you something about Ron. This is kind of funny.
Hey, it's not even hour 2 yet.
So when I first met Ron, he drove a 4-door diesel with extended box, extended cab, just this big monster of a truck. He had these burly wire hairs that, they would kill something as soon as look at it. And then a little time went by, and then he'd have these nice little Broncos. And then every once in a while he'd show up in the big diesel, but then he had this little Sprinter van. And the one time he showed up, I asked him, I said, do bubbles come out of that when you're driving? So he went from these big burly dogs with this big truck to the flower delivery van with the Broncos and the little softer dogs.
I'm trying to be eco-friendly, okay? I'm trying to save the goddamn planet.
Ron drives Prius now.
The evolution of Ronald Bame. Incredible.
What is this one here?
Yeah, so Jeff's question. I can tell when my dog scents a bird but creeps in trying to sight the bird. Any ideas would be grateful. So it sounds like he's just not stopping on first scent.
I got a lot
kind
of
of dog?
ideas. I
guess there's maybe a picture
I don't
of
want to do all the talking.
The first thing I think of is is he doing this with wild birds or is he doing this in training?
Yeah.
If he's doing it in training, launchers to me, remote launchers are a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because you can teach that dog that right when it hits scent, if it takes a step, that bird is going to go. Pop the bird.
Right.
Just an idea. If he has remote launchers.
Yeah, if he's got remote launchers, that that really is a game changer. You know that first bird, and I think Judy you guys would all agree with me. That first bird that you put in the launcher, you don't even let them decide whether they're going to point. You pop it.
Exactly.
You go, hey,
just right when they hit
that way. You need to be more careful next time. And then the next time they come in, they think twice about it. I always try to start where dog training, it's like having a 4-year-old human child for 12 to 15 years. It's about the aptitude of a dog. So if you start an argument with them, they're going to argue back. And if you say, change this for me, they're going to go, I don't think that's how it works. If they think that they're making their own mistake, they're going to fix it twice as fast. So if they think they're making that bird fly away by getting in too fast, they're going to say, well, maybe I should take that a little slower and I should point. If you start doing steadiness work too early, I think you're going to just, not with all dogs, but with some dogs, you're going to start an argument and sometimes you just don't win. They go, well, if you're going to do that to me, then I'm going to blink this bird and I don't want to hunt. I'm not, if the dog, and I don't know, blinking a bird is, you're going to put pressure on a bird. You're going to make them be steady. You're going to make them stand there. And so blinking a bird is, you guys probably all know what blinking a bird is. They'll smell the bird and go, I don't think so. And they walk away. And once they do that, there's really nothing you can do because they're deciding on their own to shut down and not hunt anymore. So I think like Judy was saying, I totally agree that remote launchers is the way to go. If you don't have remote launchers, go somewhere where you can get the dog on wild birds because they're not going to be able to do that on wild birds. Yeah. There are certain, I have a friend that, Ron's my friend. So I have one other friend. He's taking his dog out to,
Taffy.
Judy.
Go ahead.
He's taking his dog out to North Dakota. And he's going to put it on prairie chickens, and it's just all training. They're not going to shoot any. They're not going to do anything, and it would fix exactly that problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that in central Wisconsin, you can run on the prairie chickens before the season opens. So if you can't get remote launchers, maybe you can get something like that.
And the other important thing probably with remote launchers is timing, right? So it's not just necessarily using the timing, but it's understanding your dog and watching the moment that they hit that scent cone and being able to time the contact with the scent cone with the timing of the launchers.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that's going to train a dog, you need to learn to read your dog. And that can be as simple as sitting in the house and watching them react to different things. watching their ears, watching their body language, watching their tail. And when you start to see all that, you're going to train yourself to look for those things. And then when you're out in the field and things happen so quick and so fast, you're going to learn to read that dog a little bit better. And you're going to learn to do things when they need to be done according to what the body language of the dog is telling you.
Go. Say hi to everybody. Taffy's back home.
Taffy.
How's
How's she doing? Have you done any work with her since you brought her home?
Oh, she's perfect.
Have you done any work with her, though?
I said she's perfect.
That's what I thought.
She's perfect. I had
None.
an English Packer. I loved her.
I'm waiting for Jordan to speak up now. He'll be popping in here scolding you.
What do we got here?
I have a freshly turned 1-year-old female wire hair pointing Griffon. This will be her first hunting season. She has 2 months of gun dog training, and I'm sending her to a grouse dog camp in northern Michigan in a few weeks prior to the season starting. Any key training discipline items that can be easily worked on at home prior to the season without using birds?
Well,
Just basic obedience, really. I mean, come here. For a dog that young, I don't even teach heel.
keep your
I don't
foundation
teach heel.
strong.
Maybe woe on food, but not with birds until you break them.
Take them
Yep.
for walk. Take them for runs in the woods if you can.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Well, when they're running through the field and make them understand they have to stop. Teach them the sign language of whoa means this. Get that dog so when it's running in front of you, you can just raise your hand and not say anything, and the dog will come to a stop. And I hope that your trainer's working with you so that I know when I get dogs in for training, if they live close enough, I have them come once a week so that they learn what the dog is doing. And so when they take them home, what happens when you take a dog home from 2 months of training, they go, wow, glad that's over. No. So I hope that your trainer's working with you, and I hope that they've given you some homework. I actually have come up with an obedience card. It's a postcard for my customers, and it has stuff on both sides, and it gives what I taught them and a little explanation of if they do it wrong, here's how to make it right. So I don't know if other trainers do that, but my hope is that your trainer's working with you and has given you some things to do at home. One thing you can do let me read through this again. Sending her to grouse. If the dog has been still, it's only 1 year old. So my guess is your dog's not been steady. At least for a Griff, I hope. That's a little bit softer breed. And I can't say that for all of them because there's a breeder in Wisconsin here that sells some dogs with some pretty high prey drive. I always tell them, nobody told your dogs they're Griffs, so we're not going to break it to them. We're not going to tell them. We're not going to tell them what they are. But sometimes Griffs can be really soft. So sometimes you have to be really careful what you do in the field. But I always say, like Judy said, whatever you can do with the leash, whatever you can do running out in the field, when you're walking out in the field, if they're paying attention to something else, take a 90-degree turn and start walking away from your dog and see it. And so instead of you looking for them, they're looking for you. And if they don't pay attention, duck down in the grass and kind of hide. And let them make.
A grouse camp sounds like a great place to go.
Yep.
Perfect place to go.
In northern Michigan, it's the best place
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that, Douglas, but we can let everybody believe that.
Yeah, Minnesota's Minnesota's great, Terry.
There's a few partridge here, Ron.
There's a
There's
few
a few.
partridge.
I'm on my way.
Hey, we got to chime in from old Birds, Booze, and Buds over here.
Oh, what's he want?
He just started a watch party on Facebook. He wanted- I think technically that makes Tyler a degenerate tonight.
Yeah. I think so.
He's an honorary one. They'll accept him into their clan. Uh-oh.
So, let's see,
he was
read that. The other
like,
day,
come back.
to give up. Wait a minute. I'm not the trainer, but if you've got a dog that you're saying is a very solid retriever, the other day he only made a few retrievers that seemed to give up. He's not telling us if that was the first time. I mean, sounds like a dog retrieved for 4 years straight, and then he gave up today. I don't know. That sounds Sometimes you need more information.
More context, yeah.
I mean, not that we can fix any dog. If you don't see the dog, you really can't fix it. But
I would guess the dog hasn't been force broke, just with the way the question's written, but we don't know that either.
And was it bumpers? Was it birds?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Right. So, Mike, get back on your keyboard.
Let us know, Mike.
But you need to give us more information.
And then we'll talk hockey.
I have a candle proof. Oh, there's Tyler.
10. Yeah, don't let that get too close to the sidewalls there, Tyler. I wonder what scent he's burning out there at the campground.
Probably French vanilla.
Am I back? You lost
You're
me.
back.
My internet had a moment.
That happens. That's
I'm
part of
back
Hunter's
now.
Happy Hour.
Sorry about that.
I had a
Don't worry.
That's
I
funny.
had a moment there where I thought I didn't have another beer in the fridge, but
Oh, that would be a
Lauren,
tragedy.
how you
Oh,
doing?
wow,
Wow.
How many is that now?
well, that's number 4.
That's 4. Doug, we got to get a tally like up on the screen.
I could probably come up with something. 4 and 30 in 31 minutes. That's the average.
Well, he did have a head start, in fairness, but
Yeah. I told Doug when we were on earlier, I said, he says, how you doing? I said, family's been up for 4 days. I said, I don't even feel like having a beer. Oh, well.
you were not yourself.
That was not myself. All right. Well, this is Judy question right off the bat.
That's a beauty question,
Uh-oh.
Oh man, the pressure's on, Kurt.
right?
I have a wine writer before this fall.
Make them hunt independently before you start hunting them together.
Gotcha.
I never hunt a young dog with an old dog because all they do is learn to tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's my house from Judy's friend.
They never teach each other the good things, ever. Right, Judy? They only teach each other the bad stuff.
Right. Quite often. Yeah, I definitely like to take the young dogs out by themselves. In fact, I rarely run 2 dogs at once myself. If I'm hunting by myself, there's always one dog down.
Mhm.
I never do.
You always have a fresh dog to turn out.
Exactly.
That's a nice hunting spot.
So especially if you have a young one and an old one, that's the last thing you really want to do is what you're saying here, Kurt. That could happen. So hunt them separately. Definitely hunt them separately.
Try to find a Navda chapter.
Yeah.
And get that puppy on birds all by itself so that it knows what it's doing before hunting season starts. And that way your dog is going to be all prepared for the quiz at the end of the year.
When we talk about hunting the dogs separately, I think a lot of folks have heard that, but I'm curious just to kind of take it at one step further. And so we're going through hunting season, right? And I have the same situation. I've got a 6-year-old English setter and I've got a 10-week-old English setter. So I'll be doing that. I'm going to try to hunt the 10-week-old as much as I can by herself. Does that mean never hunt the 2 together, or more so obviously give the pup as much independent time as you possibly can?
When the pup is hunting really good and hunting independent of, using its nose, finding birds, then certainly hunt them together. And a good way to train them to hunt together is if you have a membership to Hunt Club, go out there and hunt the younger dog on half the field. You hunt the older dog on half the field, and then take them both out because they've both found birds in the same field. Hunt them both together. Now the younger dog is tired and not quite as exuberant as when you first let him out.
Sure.
And hopefully he'll learn, and there's going to be enough bird scent that they're going to be able to go off on their own and hunt.
Another thing to consider too is, with the younger dogs, generally they don't have manners. So, a bird goes down and the younger dog breaks and steals your older dog's bird, and that might not be a real great thing to the older dog. Points being stolen. So you got to know your dogs too. So there's no issues.
I could untrain your older dog too. You're exactly right.
Sure.
Got to figure out, is the risk worth the reward? And usually
Yeah.
not. Usually not.
Yeah.
I got to choose a puppy at 5 weeks, and I realize there's not much to tell from a dog at that age in terms of what they'll be as a hunter, but is there anything you don't like to see in a 5-week-old pup?
I wouldn't like to see a shy puppy.
Right.
And it's hard because, well, for one thing, for you to pick the puppy, I like it when a breeder is the one that picks the puppy for you.
Or helps.
Huh?
Or helps.
Or helps you.
Or helps. Because they've been watching those puppies for 8, 9, 10 weeks. So I would say, rather than you picking the puppy, tell them what you want in a dog, what kind of temperament you like. Do you like a bulldog? Do you like a little more laid back dog? Independence. Do you want one that's a little closer working? And it's not, it doesn't always work, but
Yeah.
it's a good way to go is by relying on them. But for something I wouldn't want to see is, like I said, I wouldn't want to see a puppy that was showing lots of sensitivity or shyness.
Yeah.
And I can tell you just from the last litter that we had, or the first litter that I whelped and got to raise, is that if they would have picked pups out at 5 weeks, the way that those, based off of what they were looking for, by the time those pups were 8 weeks, they weren't, they would have been a mixed match. And now that they're a year and a half old, they're completely different than the dogs that they brought home. And it's almost a crapshoot. I think it's genetics. And, the one that we had that was the wallflower is probably the biggest spaz in the whole group now.
They change so much. You got to remember, at 5 weeks old, they've only been a dog for 1 week.
Yeah.
Judy would probably agree with it. Anyone that has raised puppies would probably agree with me that they really don't start acting like dogs until they're about 4 weeks old. Right. Their eyes open at 2 weeks old. Their ears and eyes open at 2 weeks old. And it takes about 2 weeks for them to gain consciousness of what they're doing and where they're going, and that they're, being annoying, and they're, to get their drive and their, wits about them. It takes a while. So picking a puppy at 5 weeks old, I don't know that I would ever let someone pick a puppy at 5 weeks old. Not sure what age this breeder sends them home. I mean, I don't send my puppies home until they're 8 weeks old. I think at 7 weeks old, they go through a fear stage, and I think they change a lot. If you send them home before that, picking a 5 week old puppy would be really, really difficult, because, like I said, they've only been a dog for 1 week.
And
so basically, just don't worry about it. You already picked the litter.
You've already picked a good breeder.
Yeah.
I tell you, I forget
I know. Wait, pick the cutest one. Pick the
cutest one?
Because at least if it doesn't hunt,
it will be pretty. He's so pretty.
Yeah.
I sold. I had deposits on every puppy, and I had a gentleman that had pick of males, and I only had one liver male in the litter. The rest of them were black, and he didn't want a black one. He wanted a brown one, and he was a short hair breeder. And I said, the liver one, I can just tell he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He's not one that I would breed. Already at 4 weeks old, I could,
That's pretty bad.
No, he's sweet and he's cute and he's liver-roan, but he's not the one I would pick to continue on the gene pool. And I was right, because the guy that got that puppy from me, he was sweet and he was an okay hunter, but he wasn't. And this was, I don't know if Ron probably knows Mojo. It was the litter Mojo was out of. And so I gave this guy back the deposit, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to have a puppy you're happy with. I gave him back his deposit. And so I had one puppy left out of the litter. I let everybody pick their puppies. And I said, well, we'll get the one that's left. And, if we don't like him, we'll trade him and sell him as a starter dog. And ended up being Mojo. Mojo was my best stud dog ever. He's beautiful. He's thrown great puppies. He's got a lot of talent. He's gotten 3 utility prize ones in his lifetime. We were getting him ready for the invitational, and his knee was giving him some troubles. I took him up and showed that it was starting to tear. So I'm like, nope, never mind. We're not going to run the invitational. But he was the last male that nobody picked. So if people get bent out of shape about picking a puppy, I always tell them that story, because he was the one nobody wanted. He was the one everybody picked over. So if you find a good breeder, a lot of people that pick puppies out of my litters, they, They pick for color because they're all the same.
That's
They're
why
all-
Judy has Weimaraners. They're all the same color.
Right.
I want gray one. Oh, it's a little tough.
Yeah.
Dog on screen.
All right, Doug, it's up to you, buddy. You got to keep it rolling. You're the
No, I
producer.
was going to. I didn't want to
No.
interrupt any. Any tips for a first year dog besides getting her on as many wild birds as possible? It's a 9-month-old poodle pointer.
Nope.
Have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Best thing.
Don't stress yourself out.
You know what? Don't set any expectations for what's going to happen.
No.
Don't listen to your buddy's dog who passed the NA test at 5 months old. Don't let somebody say he should be holding point longer. Just if you've got wild birds, I'm assuming you do because he said that.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Just go for it.
And that's an important piece that he's saying there is I mean, that's the one that you want to focus on.
Right. And I know with Justin, I work with him, and everything is like, just get a young dog to come when you call. I mean, it's like, if you can get a young dog to come when you call and you start hunting, you can still get him to come when you call. I've had a lot of dogs in the beginning, like, they didn't come when I called. And you know why? Because I didn't try to do that. And that's like the most important. It's like raising a kid. Like, if you can't stop your kid from doing something in the house, like
There's a lot of correlation there.
You screwed up something in the first 3 years. By the time the kid was 4 and you still can't stop him.
Yeah.
So teach that dog to listen to you. Create that bond with them.
Here's somebody that wants to point out that Tyler's German dog did not attack the coyote that was trailing them within 30 yards. If you haven't seen
that's a good dog. That's a good
I
dog.
didn't see that. Oh.
No, weren't you? So Tyler went live on Instagram. It had been 2 days ago, and he had about a 30-pound coyote that was following him a few hundred yards, that kept getting up close, barking and yiping at his dogs. And as he progressed to walk towards back to the truck, the dog kept following him.
That is a good dog. Bo is a great dog.
No, he's not, but that's beside the point.
What I've seen, he's a damn good dog.
Don't the coyotes get the dog's attention and then have them follow them, and then all of a sudden they lead them back to their pack?
That's what people say about wolves.
I
don't know if coyotes do the same thing, but
I
that's
think
probably a
wolves
good
just
thing.
come and kill them.
yeah.
Okay, so this is gonna be an Instagram question. Let's see, a flusher or a pointer for a new hunter. So new hunter probably sounds like maybe first dog. Do they go for a flushing breed or a pointing breed?
I'll tell you the difference. Flushing dogs find the birds. You take your flushing dog to birds. Wherever you're walking, your flushing dog is going to find birds. The problem with a flushing dog is trying to keep control, because if they got the drive to find the birds, they don't want to stay within gunshot. Right?
Gun range, yeah.
Pointers take you to birds. You don't have to walk quite as much in the field. They're going to cover the field. Now, the problem with a pointer is until you steady them first 2 years of hunting, sometimes can be kind of rough, because they don't know they're supposed to stay on point, and they don't know those things when they're young, and they learn to stay on point when you don't shoot at those birds that they try to take out. You know, if you're walking up on them and they're jumping on the bird, you know what it's always do as I say, not as I do, because if it's a rough grouse, I guarantee that some lead's going to be flying in the air, whatever they did on the bird. But try not to shoot at those birds. If you're getting into like a flight of woodcock, or if you're down in, one of the plain states, you're getting into a bunch of pheasants, go, you know what? The limit's 3 pheasants. I'm getting into a bunch of birds. The next 2 birds that I shoot, the dog's going to handle them perfectly, or I'm not going to shoot at them. So it's so funny that this came up. I just had somebody call me the other day, and it was a dad, and he wanted me to settle an argument between him and his son. His son had labs, he had pointers, and he wanted me, because he saw that I raised short hairs, he wanted to tell me that the short hair was the best dog in the whole world, and to tell his son that he was wrong. And I said, you know what the best dog for you is? The one that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a flushing dog, can be a pointing dog. You just have to determine what you want. Do you want that dog to run outside a gun range? Do you want that dog to go and find you game? Are you comfortable with the dog hunting out of sight for a few minutes and then coming back and checking in. If you're not, then you probably want to go with a flushing dog. How much are you going to hunt? For me, the perfect dog for the guy that doesn't hunt very much is probably a little flushing dog, like the one you got on your lap there, Ron. I had an English Cocker for years, and I loved her to death. And she was just as happy jumping on the trampoline with my kids or going hunting. She didn't really care, but she would be the great weekend dog because she would sit in your lap. She would, my short hairs will sit in my lap too, but
Yeah, they might also eat the chair.
right. But it all depends on what you want. So you have to determine whether you want that dog to go outside a gun range or if that would make you feel uncomfortable. Then I would probably recommend a flushing dog.
Good answer, Tracy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It was very thorough.
Where do you start trading?
So where do you start training with an older dog? So I have a 3-year-old Brittany who's got me interested in upland hunting. So I have a dog for a few years, just starting to think about upland hunting. Is it still possible to get that dog to?
Sure. If
He's
got
not
the
trading his dog, right? That's supposed to be training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's training.
I don't think he's trading it like baseball cards. No.
It's never too late.
I've never started with Judy. Oh. Judy froze on my screen.
Oh, I did?
Oh, you're
I
good.
can see her.
Probably just my internet.
I think for the 3-year-old dog, one of the most important things to do would be gun acclimation. Because just like a puppy that you can mess up, you wouldn't want to do that with a 3-year-old dog too. So
The forgiveness isn't going to be there.
was that?
The forgiveness isn't going to be there.
Right. So I think if you can get yourself a hold of some dead birds and see if the dog's birdie, toss him around, and if he gets excited about it, you can do some introduction with a 22 starter pistol. A good way to do it is when you throw the bird, right when the dog pounces on that bird, pop. Start at a distance, work in. If you don't see any reaction to the dog, great. Keep that going until you think you could shoot that gun and the dog goes, "Where's the bird?" Then you could take it out to the field. So then you introduce the dog to
very good advice. There's so many people that struggle with gun sensitivity issues, and it's always man-made. It's never the dog. Maybe they have the tendencies. Would you agree, Judy? Maybe they have the tendency to become gun sensitive.
Correct. But even a shy, sensitive dog becomes
you make it love birds.
Mistakes.
I teach gun shyness. I teach the dogs gun. I pretend every dog is sensitive to the gun.
Yes.
I teach it to a puppy like I do to a gun shy dog that I have to fix. And you're exactly right. Make them so crazy about birds they can't think about anything else when they're chasing that bird or when they're chasing that dead bird. Even if you don't have birds, you can do it with bumpers. If they really, really, really like to retrieve and they really will chase that bumper, as soon as that bumper starts to fall and they almost got it in their mouth, you pop off a little shot and they go, "What was that?" And they go, "I don't care. I got a bumper here, or I got a bird here. I got, something to retrieve." Gun issues, I think, arise in dogs that I've had problems with getting them over is when they don't want to retrieve the bird. Because they chase it and they don't really care to pick it up. It's just hard to fix it in.
Yeah.
But I would totally agree with that, Judy.
So that's a good way to start. Just introduce your dog to some dead birds. See if he gets excited about them. Take him out and introduce him to live birds if you have some great areas to hunt, and see what happens. But it's certainly never too late.
So another Instagram question: how do I get my Springer Spaniel more excited and interested in fetching? So maybe not just Springer Spaniel, but maybe just dogs in general. So if you've got an upland dog that's not real big on fetching, how do we get them interested in it?
Well,
wait. Let me answer this as a Navda judge. Retrieving is also an instinct. It's not on our scorecard. So you get a whole lot of variables how much a dog likes to retrieve. So does the dog retrieve a bird while he's hunting and not when you're playing? It's no big deal.
Right.
People get kind of hung up on he doesn't like to retrieve. But if he retrieves while he's hunting I wouldn't worry about it. That's me.
Right.
I've never owned one of those dogs.
I was kind of
You're
thinking that I
exactly
wasn't going to say it.
Ren, retrieving.
I know, baby. What you doing?
Retrieving is an instinct. Just like my son wants to be a welder. He's going to school for welding. If I say, no,
You're not trying to tie me into the fact that I'm a welder. Hey, we went down that road 20. Shush.
but if he didn't, I can't talk him into being a doctor. You know why? Because he wants to be a welder. If a dog wants to fetch, and fetching is not bringing things to you. Fetching is picking stuff up and carrying it around. Bringing it to you is obedience.
Yeah.
So either they have the instinct to fetch or they don't have the instinct to fetch. And you can teach them to fetch, doing the force fetch and putting the pressure on and doing those things. It's harder because they don't want to do it to begin with. Now you start putting pressure on them. And they go, I didn't want to pick that up before.
Doing it.
I didn't want to pick that up before. Now you're putting pressure on me. I really don't want to pick it up. So it takes a little longer to get those dogs to do it. But I've had pretty good success with dogs that didn't want to do it just by teaching them. It takes a little longer. But it is an instinct. You're exactly right. Either they like to fetch or they don't. And the only way that I know how to deal, I don't know if you guys would agree with me, seeing dogs owning dogs that fetched and don't fetch, you either have to fix it completely or deal with it the way it is. I don't know how to make them like it more the only thing is by doing force fetch, teaching the trained retrieve, and making them more worried about what you think about them not picking it up than what they think about not picking it up.
Yeah, the downside to using force fetch to make a dog that doesn't want to retrieve is style, right? So you can make a dog do it, but you're going to lose style.
Oh, yeah.
And having a dog that lacks style is, kind of sometimes takes the fun away from them. Yeah. I can tell you things that I've done. I mean, and it's not for everybody, but I mean, we're all here, we're all hunters, and playing fetch with clipped wing pigeons works really well. So going into a small fenced-in area, having a bag full of clipped wing pigeons, and actually playing fetch, so the object that they're chasing has, it becomes a game because they're bouncing around and they're chasing these clipped wings. I've gotten some pretty low drive Labradors to want to, kind of flip the switch. Sometimes it takes a little bit to unlock the prey drive in them at a young age. So if you didn't do that as a puppy and kind of unlock that prey drive, the clipped wing pigeons seem to work really well. I tried with chuckers and stuff, but the pigeons, because they seem to be the hardiest and will hold up the best and kind of take the most abuse on them. If you got a dog that chomps them, that's a different story. But typically my labs will bring them back unharmed and unmaimed. So that's one way you can give it a shot.
Hey, Judy, I got a question for Judy.
Yeah.
I get to this point now, I get so many emails a day. I don't get a lot of Weimaraner questions. I really don't. I don't know. It's not the most popular breed out there. Is that a strong retrieving breed? I mean, I know a couple of your dogs. Is it a strong retrieving breed?
Yeah, actually, I say even the dogs that aren't bred for hunting, the show dogs, the backyard bred dogs, the pet bred dogs, it's just in them. So when I'm looking for, let's say, a stud dog for one of my girls, I honestly don't even have to think like, does your dog like to retrieve? Because it's just in them, no matter how well or poorly bred they are, which is kind of nice. Yeah, it's one of their strong suits. And
I'm not saying it because Nick's got a new setter pup, right? But it's kind of like you've heard Justin say it, about 30% of setters are just good natural retrievers.
Yeah.
And I just never seen enough Weimaraners to know.
No, they are.
It just kind of comes with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else comes with it?
You're on mute.
No, go ahead. I was making a note to myself. Go ahead.
You were talking to yourself.
What else comes with the Weimaraner?
Ron.
It's the main ingredient in a silver lab.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. No, wait. The silver pointing lab.
Yes.
Hey,
those are worth more money.
Yeah. Oh boy, you're close enough. We can go run my pointing lab, and we'll see how she does.
Oh, do you have one?
I do not a silver lab, but
Oh, do you really?
yeah,
Oh.
not a silver lab.
How old
Oh,
is
I
your
thought you
dog?
said a silver lab. I'm
No.
like, oh, jeez.
God no. I don't think that I'd be even allowed in this room if I owned a silver lab.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I might have a stud dog for you.
I heard that the silver lab was an offshoot of the chocolate gene.
It is. It's a
Yeah.
dilute gene. You
Yeah.
can blame. There's a breeder out in, I believe it was South Dakota. His last name was Kellogg. That was pretty notorious for breeding limes into his line or to his pointing lab lines. He's took a lot of crap from him. In almost any silver lab out there, you can almost go back and trace it back to his kennel.
Are you throwing Balog under the bus?
Didn't
Tyler,
he have Weimaraners too?
he did, yeah. So he did.
Okay, well there you go.
Buddy.
But he
Tyler.
denied it.
Guys, how's it going?
What's up, buddy?
Well, I'm camping. I got puppies. I wanted to,
Dog on
make
camera?
everybody drink for all the puppies.
Is that a
Dog
silver
on
lab?
screen.
That is-
Dog on screen. That was all 3 dogs on screen for Brock Guy.
I have 4 dogs. I got 4 dogs.
4 dogs on screen, Brock Guy.
Yeah, it's been work, but it's been fun. So
Tyler, don't lie. You talk to me every other day. It's not been fun. So cut it out.
it's been fun today.
Been fun today.
I've been having a good time watching and listening to you guys. I might actually learn something from. We finally got people on here that can get that can. Tell
This is a pretty good one here.
That is
Yeah.
a good question. I mean, I want the girls to answer the question. So, Judy, take it.
Well, I know Tracy does this a lot more than me, but I really don't do a ton of tracking before the NA.
Me neither.
And I usually wait and do it like the 2 weeks prior to the test is what I personally do. And I'll start with a drag, do your piles of feathers, drag the bird, make it easy at first, maybe 30 yards, leave it in some thick stuff, send the dog. What I'm trying to get through the dog's head is the pile of feathers means follow my drag, which is like a highway ascent, and you're going to score. So I'll do that. And when the light bulb turns on, I'll then switch to a pheasant or a chucker. And then you'll do like the test, the actual track. I like to wet a bird when I first start. I wet the bottom of the bird so it leaves more scent. So I'll do that a few times. And once I see the dog has it, I stop. So I'll probably do about 4 live pheasant tracks before the test and probably 7 drags.
So, Judy, do they typically use pheasants for the tracking, or do they use ducks?
Oh no, they typically use pheasant, and if pheasants aren't available, they can use chuckers. I don't know, Tracy, have you ever used chuckers?
I've never had to use chuckers, thank goodness.
Yeah, I don't think we have ever either.
I've always used pheasants.
I have a really good story about that. At one of our tests, my twin girls were like 12, just old enough to start helping and driving the 4-wheeler. And I told Mackenzie and Kelsey to go wrangle up the pheasants for the track. And apparently I didn't work with them about, the lid on those big white plastic crates, And when it went up, it looked like a tower chute. All the pheasants just started flying out of the box. They were like, ah! So guess what we used for tracks that day? Chuckers.
Yeah, chuckers.
Yeah.
We got lucky.
The reason
I
why
have a really good advice about tracking.
Yeah.
It all depends on your dog. You got to remember, air scent tells a dog how close or far away from the bird they are to point. So if your dog is real weak at pointing, I wouldn't do a lot of tracks because that's going to take away. When they catch the ground scent, it doesn't tell them how close or far away from the bird they are. They track right up to the bird and they go, oh, since I'm right here, I'll just pick this up for you. So if you have a dog that's weak in pointing, maybe you want to try tracking and putting a pigeon in a release trap at the end so that it has to point at the end. And it all depends on the dog. If I've got a dog that's really strong in pointing, sometimes they aren't strong in tracking because they don't want to catch the ground scent. They want to catch the air scent, and dogs are lazy. They're going to do the easier thing. If they want to go search for it, they're going to go search for it. So I actually teach my dog a command. I teach him easy. Easy means to slow down and look for a track. And like Judy was saying, I do it on drag tracks. Sometimes if I have a dog that's not very good at pointing, instead of dragging a bird, I may put gravy in a ketchup bottle, and every 3 steps, leave some treats at the beginning or some kibble if it really likes its food. Every 3 steps, I put a squirt of gravy, just like you do butt tracking. And then now you're using food. You're not even using something that they can point, and you're teaching them to put their nose down and use it for tracking. So it all depends on your dog. If your dog sucks at tracking and pointing, well then I would
We have a Bronco.
food.
Yeah. Come here. Miller, come on. Come here.
My dogs are in the garage, Mike. It's not me.
Oh, well. I was going to show you a dog with a very large nose. And you know what it means? Nothing. It's just a very large nose.
Right. Well, that's why when you look at the dogs that are bred for tracking, they always have really big ears, because when the hounds put their head down, those ears cup around the face, and they're supposed to bring the scent to the nose, is what they're supposed to do.
One more thing about tracking is a lot of people get hung up on wanting their dog to put their nose down and really.
Some dogs don't track that way, do they, Judy?
No. I mean, most of my dogs track with a high head. They don't put their nose to the ground. So don't let that fool you. If you don't think your dog's tracking, there's, he might be just with a higher head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the things that I just real quick, I'm going to leave because I'm going to get a thunderstorm and I'm going to go hide in my tent. But
big baby.
Judy, when you mentioned wetting down those birds,
Mhm.
that's a really good tip that a lot of people don't think about. Like if you got a dead bird that's been frozen or whatever for a long time, you wet those feathers down a little bit. That really brings that smell back. And especially when you're working with a young dog, you're trying to give them every single advantage you possibly
No, don't mess with my wires.
Yeah, like that was a really good little tip there that when you said that, I've never done it before, but
I've got a really good tip for some Navda judges out there. I did this. Yeah. I've been doing this for years. Usually at a Navda test, you're not at someone's kennel and you can catch the pheasants at lunchtime, like you can with my chapter. They catch the pheasants in the morning and they're in a crate all day and it's hot outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the summertime. Take and put a couple bags of ice on top of those pheasants. I was out in Montana last weekend judging a 3-day test out there, and we had 11 dogs, 11 NA puppies. We were done with tracking in 1 hour. 11
awesome.
puppies. We put a couple
That's a
bags.
great idea.
The pheasants hit the ground running. They didn't stop and pant. They didn't. They weren't hot. They weren't overheated. They weren't thirsty. And yeah, it probably gives your dog a little bit of an advantage because stuff's hard enough to begin with. It's hard.
I know.
So,
well, especially August in Montana, it's dry.
It's dry.
I'm in North Dakota
dry.
right now. We haven't
Every
had any
single
hurricane.
puppy tracked, every single pheasant ran.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Perfect.
Mike's got another question. So my dog hates gunshots except while hunting. Super scared unless we are in a hunting situation.
I had a dog just like that. Judy might remember my first short hair, Queenie.
I remember your first short hair.
Yeah.
She was white and brown, wasn't she? White and liver?
Yeah, and she was really one of my all-time favorite dogs. And John McNeil's the one that said, "Ron, why didn't you ever run her?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I just, I had to go get the wire hair, But that dog didn't like a plastic bag getting popped up for a garbage can. It didn't like fireworks. It didn't like.
No,
it
it's
just,
kind of like,
yeah, and if I wouldn't worry about it, there's nothing else.
I had a dog that was afraid to death of thunderstorms. She ended up being a versatile champion and a master hunter.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
You know?
Ron, Queenie was liver and white. Did she look anything like this one?
Yeah. It was a Mosgard, liver head, white body, big brown spot. Hey, that's my dog.
Hey, is it, wait,
Reincarnated.
Yeah. Nope, it's not.
I wish I could reincarnate her. But yeah, that dog, it didn't like any other kind of noise, but it wasn't, don't worry about it. Who's old enough to remember the movie The Exorcist?
Believe it or not.
I watched in a drive-in movie theater.
What does this have to do with
I'm gonna bring it around.
Gonna get there.
I'm gonna bring this all around here. Listen. You're gonna go like, wow, did he segue into this thing? Okay. I saw The Exorcist at a drive-in movie theater with my buddies, where you hide two guys in the trunk to save a couple bucks. And we went to see The Exorcist. My buddy had his grandma's 61 Chevy. Now, granted, this was in the 73 or 72, but it was a 61 Chevy, very big car. When that movie came on, I hid. I could not watch his head spinning around. And I couldn't personally watch that. Now, I ain't afraid of shit, but I'm afraid of that movie. To this day, that movie, Tubular Bells, the soundtracks, Tubular Bells comes on.
When the head spins around? Yeah.
So don't worry about your dog being afraid of thunder or firecrackers. As long as it ain't gun shy, just as tough as I am. Good. There you go.
I have a 14-month-old pointer that won't.
I think I'm going to get rained on. We'll see you guys.
See you, buddy.
We'll see you, Tyler. Hey, Tyler.
Yeah.
Bill Knapp says hi.
I'm going to see Bill this weekend.
Yeah.
Billy buddy.
He's coming
I
up to
just
go run
we were
Dark Day
training
with me.
together tonight.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
Tracy, since nobody else is here and nobody's watching or anything like that, how's his dog? Do I have am I going to be really worried? I know you guys trained it, so it should.
His dog, I'm telling you what, he just got his hips done, and it should come back good. And I'm going to have some puppies out of him hopefully next year. So I really like that dog. That is a nice dog.
Good.
Yeah.
We're gonna be finding some sharp tails out here, doing some scouting. So Judy.
So when I was telling you the story, the guy going to North Dakota and gonna run on some sharp tail, that's with you.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys.
We'll see you, Tyler.
No, this one comes up a lot.
I actually wrote an article for the Navda magazine about how to get your dog in the water when it doesn't want to swim for bumpers. Ron Bame can attest to that. Do you remember that small Munsterlander I ran, Natural Ability?
Yeah.
So this dog didn't like bumpers. So what her owner did was gave her ducks. Well, if you're going to give me chocolate, I'm not going to like the broccoli. Just saying. So I had to try to get this dog to swim for bumpers. And so what I taught her the command go. Go meant you better go, and you got to make sure now that the dog does like water, that it's not afraid, and that the dog knows how to float. That is the scariest thing for dogs. When they step off the drop-off, if they're not sure that they're going to be okay, there's no way we can tell them that they're going to be okay. So if they're not okay with stepping off the drop-off, then you got to teach them that first before you go to this training. So this is for dogs that know how to swim and like to swim, but don't like to swim for bumpers. You teach them the command go. Go means, can we say things? Go means you better get your ass in the water. Is that okay? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's after this first hour. F-bomb
Right?
committed.
Go means you better get your ass in that water and swim. So what I do is I step up to the drop-off with the dog, and I take a bumper and I skip it across the water so it's exciting. Just make it splash in the water so don't just plunk it in so it sinks and comes back up. You skip it across the water so it skips a couple times and it's exciting. And tell them to go. And if they don't go, hook your finger in the collar and make them step off the drop-off and make them swim out. And, they're going to swim a little bit because you're right at the drop-off. And then praise them and say, okay, let's go for a walk in the field. You did your one swim. and then take a little walk in the field, come back to the pond. Hopefully your field and pond are adjacent. Come back to the water, throw another bumper out there, skip it across the water, and tell them go. And once they go, because you said go, we're done. Make them swim once. If they swim once on their own, you're good. Good for that day. And then you keep doing that until you can build it up to 2 or 3 swims, because if they go really slow, you're probably going to have to swim them 3 times. So anyway, I took this dog to Michigan to test. And what was it that you said, Ron? Do you remember that dog? You don't remember that dog, do you? You said if she could have swum any slower, she'd have sunk.
Okay.
I threw that first bumper out there and I said, go. And she looked back at me like, oh my God, I hate you. Fine. And she went out and she just swam really slow. I got her back. Oh my God, what a good dog. You're the best dog in the world. Threw that second bumper and I said, go. And she went and swam. But she swam because she knew that it was a command to go. And did she like to swim? Yes. She just didn't like bumpers.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do with dogs that don't like to swim after bumpers. I just teach them the command, go means you better get your ass in the water and swim, or I'm going to make you swim.
Judy, what have you? I'm going to go back to Wimes. How about the swimming part? They're not the most swimming dogs, are they?
You know, I find that when they're younger, not so much as when they're older.
Yeah.
So it seems like around a year, they love it. So anytime you get one that's, you know, an early bloomer that's swimming as a 8, 9, 10, 12-week-old puppy, that's great. And it's, it's not uncommon, but typically I think they really start enjoying the water around 1.
Yeah.
Like really like going on their own kind of thing. I'm not talking about just retrieves and, you know, bring them back. They'll do that all day. But for a dog to actually start just going out because it likes to swim.
You know,
some dogs need a purpose and some dogs do not need a purpose.
Right.
You know?
Some dogs swim in an NA test just to get away from you. They don't
That's your dog again, Ron. Your dog.
You know what I did notice? If I could just do one more minute on this, I did notice when we started breeding, I started breeding short hairs back in '96, and we had our first couple of litters. They were really easy dogs to live with, and they were very friendly. But pointing, it wasn't real consistent until they were about 16 months old. And Al and I looked at each other and said, well, you know, people are going to come to us to buy a pointing dog. They're probably going to want it to point a little sooner than 16 months old, consistently. So we said, well, we got to add some pointing in. And so we went to get a field trial dog. So, oh, we'll add some field trial, and they point. You know why they point forever? They really don't care to retrieve. So we lost a lot of water when we bred to the field trial dogs.
Yeah.
So love of water and retrieving kind of go hand in hand. Would you not agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, the dog that didn't want to retrieve in the first place, you throw it in that wet stuff and they go, you know, I didn't really want to go get that to begin with. Now there's this wet stuff in my way. I don't think so. Yeah. Where the dog that really wants to retrieve and they really want to get that, they go, well, there's this wet stuff in my way. I'll figure out a way to get through it. And they learn that they like it. Now, the other dog can learn to like the water too, but it takes a little longer. It takes a little more teaching.
I would say, too, people get hung up, and I was hung up once upon a time. And you know, you'll get a lot of people who disagree with me. My dog, Zygon, that I did not pass the invitational with, but I made it to the invitational with him. Now, that dog, he was like everything he did as a puppy was like totally assed up. Totally. And I was like, oh my God, I got a basket case on my hands. This dog, he doesn't want to point. He doesn't want to swim. And guess what? He went all the way to the invitational. So I know everybody wants to get their dog and get that.
He made you a better trainer, didn't he?
Well, yes.
Easy dogs are easy to train. The ones that are harder teach you your job.
But I want people to take away from this is just because you weren't ready for the NA test or the dog wasn't ready doesn't mean you don't have a really good dog. They just slow to mature.
Well, I have a really good example of that. I have a dog that I just bred last year. She did not pass the invitational she did not pass the NA test. She would not swim.
Yeah.
Because she was a little uncooperative shit.
Yeah.
She looked at that bumper and she said, I don't think so. Not today. It's not in the stars. I taught her to duck search three times, and she was duck searching to prize 1 level.
Yeah.
Her first time out in utility, she got a utility prize 1. So, yeah, you're exactly right.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself if you're getting ready for this test, because it's a great barometer, but it's not the only barometer. It's not the end all and be.
Right.
Now, if it's 3 years old and it ain't doing anything, let it stay at home. That's okay. But they all mature at different ages.
Can you join Navda before you get your first
Look
verse?
at me. I haven't matured yet, and I'm 63 years old.
We're hoping that you never do. We love you just the way you are.
Oh, thank you. I'm kind of slow.
It's so special.
Answer that. Judy, answer that question. I
Yeah,
gotta go to
absolutely. You can join Navda
We
before
would
you
love
get your first
to join
versatile
our
dog.
chapter.
It's actually a great idea, especially if you're not decided on what breed you want. You could, you don't even have to join to check out a training day, really. But sure, join Navda, find your closest chapter, check out their training day, their tests, meet a bunch of dogs. Great group of people, and they'll love to have you.
Yeah, I have friends all over the country, thanks to this goofy club that I got involved in 27 years ago, 28 years ago, and yeah, I never met anybody in this organization that I wouldn't want to stop and have a beer with whenever I pass by their house.
Everybody is reminding us that we skipped our hour 1 social now that we're in hour 2. So hour 2 officially starts the happy hour. So there are usually there's some sex talks with Ron. He usually makes some appropriate gestures. We'll hear him talking in German. I won't doubt we will hear about him swimming naked in a pool in Chicago. There we go.
Been some comments about it.
Yeah. So salud. Cheers, everybody.
Does anybody need to go to the bathroom? Because I've done it twice.
We know, we saw.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't turn.
Or
I
didn't see, however you want to look at it.
Oh, did my computer pick that up?
No.
Just laughed, and I knew there was a reason.
Well, is it? Do we have any more questions that are intelligible, or should we just tell stories?
Tips and tricks for a transition from e-collar to no collar in the field. Why would you go from e-collar to no collar?
Even the dumbest dogs get collar-wise. I guess the only thing I can recommend is, even though you have the e-collar on them, chase them down and catch them anyway. Because now they're learning to respect you rather than that little thing around their neck. And the e-collar, for me, the e-collar is a tool that I use if I can't catch them. Because I'd rather put my hands on them and say, don't do that. Right, Ron?
Yeah. I would not want to be trained by Tracy if I didn't listen. Tracy is the equivalent of St. Denis Parochial School in Chicago. I went to public school, so the teachers could still kind of swat you around a little bit. But my friends that went to Catholic school, they had nuns.
I'm like a nun.
You're like a nun. You're like a 1970s nun. You're like Sister Mary Catherine. I'm going to bust your knuckles, and you are going to listen to me. And I'm like, yep.
It's so funny because people will come to me with a dog, and not so much the hunting. Well, maybe a little bit of the hunting dogs, but where I find I also work with non-hunting dogs, which it's kind of funny. It's kind of fun because they're different. But it's with the non-hunting dogs where I really get to see the difference in temperament around me, because they'll come in and the dogs can smell whether you're a dominant person or not. They can smell it in each other when dogs meet. They know who's dominant already just by smelling each other. And so when I enter a room, the dogs will go, God, I better behave.
Tracy, I still do that when I come to your house and judge.
Taylor's asking, to your knowledge, has there ever been a VC Irish red setter?
I think there was.
What's VC?
Sean,
Versatile champion. I think there was an Irish setter, a red setter. One.
I got a lot of those.
Well,
I didn't know that Bird Bros bred red setters, but I don't know if that's what Shawnee's name.
Judy had the first. I'm gonna bust you a little bit. I'm gonna build you up a little bit, Judy, and then I'm gonna bust you down.
All right. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
So Judy had the first Weimaraner that got a versatile championship. I mean, first one. I mean, that for a breed that was not in Navda, I was like, it was a big deal. And then she got, and Judy, you can fix this if I get it wrong, but you got a call from either Bob West or Purina or somebody to go down to Missouri for a photo op to get your dog in a photo ad for Purina. And you didn't want to fly your dog down there.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I was like,
wow, I forgot all about this, Ron.
I remember that. That's 20 years ago.
Funny. Yeah, they were going to put him on
oh my God, I'm such an attention monger. Yeah. I'm like, how did you do that? I would have took the dog sled down there to do it. You're like, no, I'm not flying down with Gunner. No, I'm not going to do it. And you were going to be on the back page of every ad that
I know
put. And it would have been you and Gunner.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That's like 20 or more years ago. You've got a good memory, Ron.
Yeah.
How did
the
you
first thing
remember
Ron's
that?
remembered in the last 5 years.
What I also remember the first time I saw Tracy and Judy with just their bra. Now that's no. Now wait.
I'm forgetting this as well. Tracy, do you remember this?
No, I must have been.
This is all a bunch of BS.
No. You guys will remember this, okay?
Oh, no.
For Tracy, we were going down to Judge in Ohio. And we went down
dogs down there.
We went down a day early. Besides the fact that I pulled into a drive-through liquor store.
Oh my God, I've never ever seen them. That is the most awesome thing in the entire world.
I'm with Tracy. We're on route. I think it's route 10 or route.
So funny.
South in Indiana. We're going to Ohio chapter, and I said we got to get beer. And I pulled into a drive-through liquor store, came back out. Tracy met me on the road, and our two cars are on the road. And now I have a case of beer next to me, and Tracy pulls up next to me in that white Chevy, and you're like, "Where's my beer?" And I took a beer out and I threw it.
Every third stop sign, it was like a Chinese fire drill for beer.
We went to go dog train the day before the test because we were both judging and both running a dog. Mm-hmm. And we got done. It was real hot. It was the day before the test. And I mean, it was just one of them sweltering days. And Tracy just goes around the back of my truck and she's just changing her shirt, taking her shirt off. And I walk around the side of the truck and she goes, "Hey, I'm changing here." I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
Sorry.
Sorry.
You knew you. Whatever.
And then Judy, we were up at a bar in Traverse City when there was a bachelorette party going on.
I remember that, but I don't remember anything.
The one bachelorette who wanted to have everybody show their.
Yeah, I didn't.
Took your shirt.
Oh,
no,
yes.
you didn't.
Yeah, I remember you. She did. Oh my gosh,
right.
Yes.
So I'm standing in a cigar bar with Norquist and you and me. We're drinking, and this girl comes up to Judy. She goes, and they had shirts on like the 10 things I'm going to do on my bachelorette party, and one of them was going to be like, pull her shirt up. And this girl comes up to Judy. She goes, she just gives her the stink eye. She goes, "Well, you want it?" And she grabs her shirt and just, and I was like, "No!" I said, "You can't do that." I've technically seen both of these women's bras. That's all there is to it. Yeah. That's how far back we go.
Do you remember the first time I met you, Ron?
Oh, that was up in Traverse City.
It wasn't Traverse City. Smooch the Mooch.
We're at what's the name of that bar, Judy, with the moose on the wall?
Oh, Sledders.
Yeah,
Sledders.
Sledders.
Love Sledders.
Sledders is great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You ran. What'd you run? You ran Haskell that day.
I ran Haskell, and he got. I think he got
Very
80,
low score.
Yeah.
but he made it. He made it.
He did.
He
And I
finished the
also
test,
remember-
you mean?
I don't remember that many kids being there though when I made that toast,
No,
but
But-
apparently there were.
so of course This is 25 years ago, and we're all in that little ante room, that little room for like banquets or big crowds.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting there, and Tracy's over by the bar with another judge from Canada, and they're doing shooters. And there's only one seat left, and it's next to me. And you know, I never met Tracy in my life. I'm like, oh wow, we had girl judges. You know, I like every woman in the world.
There was not a lot of women judges at that time. There was not.
There was like 1, 2.
Yeah.
You know. And of course, I like her, and I'm like, I don't know her. I don't know her father-in-law. I don't know her husband. I'm like, this girl's up at the
I am
bar.
the first Harmeyer that you met. Really, I am
Yeah.
honored.
Yes. And so we're up at the Traverse City test. Haskell squeaked by the test, but he was just an asshole all day long. And Tracy's over there, and it's like somebody said dinner was getting served. And I'm like, hey, Tracy. And I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. She comes down, she's sitting next to me. So everybody's like giving like a little, hey, everybody, we're glad to have you here. And Tracy gets her glass, and she goes, hey, I want to say something. I got to practice. I got to remember how this went, because Tracy
I
gets
would like to propose a toast.
I'd like to propose a toast to Ron. And she goes like this. She goes, Ron needs to be kissed. And I was like, whoa,
Dog
boy.
fucked him all the way. He didn't even get a kiss.
She goes, because if you get fucked by your dog as long as he did all day, you should be kissed when you get fucked. And I immediately said, I don't know who she is, but I love her.
I think I like her. I think I can have a beer with this individual.
Damn it, I love this Navda family.
I remember that stupid test down in Ohio. So my 2 dogs that I ran utility. I was 1 good retrieve away on both dogs in the field. It was so hot the weekend we ran. It was the weekend before. I was 1 good retrieve on both dogs from getting a UT prize 1. And that was back in the day when you didn't have a lot of UT prize 1s. You know, back when we first started Navda, if you had 1 prize 1 utility at every other test you went to, that's a good showing. You know, It just didn't happen. Dogs weren't that good. Trainers weren't that good.
Yeah.
So how many? It was a max test. So what would that be with 3 NA with utility dogs? What would that be, like 5 NA?
3 or 4 or 5.
It was raining cats and dogs. Do you know how many chucker? And that was the day when they did all the NA dogs first, and then they did the utility dogs. Do you know how many wet chuckers were in that goddamn field?
A lot.
A lot. My dog pointed every dry bird and was completely steady, and she scooped on a dead run every single wet chucker. Yeah. I'm like, well, we're not getting our goal today. We passed, but it wasn't pretty. It was ugly.
I'm going to pump a little sunshine up Judy's dog history. You ran Gunner, and I watched. I was able, because I was a member of that chapter, I watched you do NA, UPT, and UT with Gunner.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you had a good chapter. You didn't have any foundation members like that were dog trainers, right?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Well, McNeil.
Yeah, but I mean,
when I started the chapter, we had McNeil.
What did he do before that? Like that he was that well known?
He had utility dogs.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he had prize utility dogs.
You have to be one of the only people back then that passed NA, UPT, and UT and went to the Invitational.
I was lucky.
As a new,
New member.
yeah, it was luck. I'm not saying it was luck. We had a good dog, but that was not the norm.
No, I know. I was
norm.
lucky. He was a really good dog. So, and I just got lucky.
Well, how come I can't get that lucky?
I don't know, Ron.
Because
Did you see that, Ron?
Too much beer.
Somebody lost their dog.
Brent Pike had a dog wander
found
around.
my dogs, came back to camp, sucked down a big. Yeah,
And he's
Brent
trying to
called.
sell.
Brent called me about 3 hours ago. He lost his dog up in the UP. He was up, and he's like, "I've never lost a dog," and he's one of my sponsors. And I said, "If they're not dead, they somehow always come back.
They'll come back.
Somehow always come back if they're not dead."
Well, that's
You
not a
ever
good
lose
place
a-
to
you
lose
ever
a
lose a
dog
dog?
either.
No.
Worst thing you can do when you lose a dog is to move.
Yeah.
To move
Judy,
far
have
from
you
where
ever
you
lost a
lost them.
dog?
What's that?
Judy, have you ever lost one of your dogs for a while?
2 hours, and that was Gunner.
Yeah.
I lost a UT dog during the duck search.
How long, Tracy?
How
Bet you
long?
nobody can ever say that.
No, that's a tough one. How long was it gone?
An hour, as long as an hour of my life. This dog, she figured out how to get out of my dog trailer. Anyway, she was just a really smart and conniving little,
Bitch.
what they call females bitches, let me tell you.
So where did you get in cooperation?
She was from Missouri and she'd never been in the woods before. So for those that you don't know where Wisconsin does most of their duck searches, not this test because we can't use state grounds. But it's got floating bogs out there and there's woods and there's a lot of woods. And if you get over apparently across the road and over to the, what would that be? South. It's like a big bowl in there. She never been in the woods before. So she didn't know how to find me. She goes out on the duck search and she was searching for like 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And she got up into the woods off the shore just to the right. And she must have got on a rabbit is all I can think of.
Yeah.
It was across the road and gone. Mm-hmm. So I'm over there and I can hear her. Where's my hand? I can hear her over here. She's howling. And then I call her, and now she's over here, and she's howling. And then she's over here, and she's howling. She was working this bowl, and she couldn't find me. And I said, she's going to go to the first human she finds, and then she's going to go, oh, my God, I'm lost. And there was a campground directly south, the direction she was moving, and an hour later, somebody brought her back.
Oh.
She went to the first human. She's like, I'm lost. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, they gave me a 0 in the duck search. You know, they would have got their point across with a 1.
Hey, Judy, what's your worst Navda day, Navda test with a dog? Worst one.
Oh, golly. I don't know, Ron. I really don't.
You mean they've all just been good?
Yeah, they've been pretty good.
Okay.
Probably a utility price 3. Yeah, utility price 3. That's good though.
But did you expect a 1 that day, or were you kind of
No.
like,
no, I didn't
okay.
expect a 1.
Okay.
I didn't expect a 3 though. I thought I had a 2. That's all. I thought I had a 2.
Because I know Tracy's worst days. I've judged some of them.
And she left before you have a
She
chance.
just left.
Boy, she
See?
dodged that
See what you did? See what you did, Ron?
Such a bully, Ron.
Hey, Ron, did I hear on your most recent podcast that Pike Ears got some gloves coming out?
Gloves, new pants. I mean, I'm trying to reinvent the world,
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
That is cool. What are the gloves like? Do you have them?
No, but I saw a pair over at Justin's place the other day. I've got really small hands. I've got to admit that. And so there was a little extra fingertip on my gloves, but it could just be me.
Well, that's hard. That's hard to make a glove that fits everybody, though.
Right. But it was very comfortable glove. It had a nice, Velcro strap to it.
Yeah.
I don't use gloves a lot when I hunt. I really don't. I mean, if I need a glove, it's because it's cold, and then I don't think about, what am I going to have that's just, the best glove I've ever had, believe it or not, is a glove that's made by my favorite sock company, Smart Wool.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little wool sock that just fits on my hands and it fits my fingers, and it just gives me that little bit of layer.
Yeah.
If it's that cold out, I'm probably not hunting.
Yeah.
Judy,
I think Tracy's
trying to get
missing-
back.
No, I think she's missing in action.
Hopefully she'll come
Okay.
back.
Tracy or Judy, Tyler told me that when you went out to North Dakota, you were just hunting in some shit weather.
Just some brutal weather. Yeah.
What time of year?
We went out there. It was in October. It was in October, and one of the days it was probably, how it is, windy as heck out there, but it was snowing and sleeting, and everything was sideways, and there was a few inches of snow on the ground that was just making it tough to walk, sliding around. But I was out there. I had a chauffeur. My husband didn't want to get out of the car, so so I would just say, come pick me up over the hill or in the other field, and I was out there trudging away. Meeting the cows.
When I met Judy at a test one day, I don't know if it was a training day or a test or the day before training day, all of a sudden a frogman came out of the water in a wetsuit. It was Vince. He was out. Yeah, he was snorkeling. I think it was in Norm Lick's pond.
No, he doesn't have. He doesn't even have a snorkel. Who would that have been? It wasn't Vince.
It was your pool boy then.
No. Who in the heck?
Yes, my memory is like a
It
steel
is,
trap.
but now you're getting this one mixed up.
Oh no.
Who would be snorkeling in Norm Lick's pond?
Hey, who's got my deer skull that I pulled out of that barbed wire?
Wait a second. Who found it?
You did?
Uh-huh. Just
So
because
whose
you
is
had
it?
the clippers.
But who got it? And
It is cool. I still have it.
we were supposed to
That
trade
was
it.
cool. I know we were. I know.
Yeah. And who
You
owns
had it for a while.
Yeah,
Was it like a traveling trophy?
It was supposed to be, because it's so neat. So what happened, it was kind of brutal actually. A buck, there was a fence, like a farm fence, under the water. Well, so the buck obviously got a drink and got his antlers, his horns tangled in that. So he was doing 360s and spinning, and it was like a crown of thorns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was there probably, I don't know, Ron, what do you think? A year maybe? Because when we found it, it was a complete skeleton. The water in the pond had receded enough to show this prize.
Wow.
I was all excited. And then Ron, has to be, well, how are you going to get it? You can't get it without me. I have the clippers. We have to make a deal on this. So, yeah, we
go
did.
right in the training field. So I go get
It's really cool.
I get some wire cutters and I cut it back. And Judy goes, I want it. I said, well, I got it. She goes, I found it. I said, I got it. She goes, all right,
We were doing one of these.
We'll trade it. Yeah, we'll trade it. I don't think if it's like the NFL trophy or the hockey trophy where it rotates from team to team.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever come back to Team Ron yet.
I know.
Yeah, probably not gonna, is it?
You can have your turn. I'll give you your turn next time I see you. Just
That's
remind me.
I would rather
Remind
just
me.
I would rather tell the story than
Yeah,
film it.
I know. It's more fun that way, right?
I've never tried dove hunting in. I want to. If anybody's got a piece of property to dove hunt in Minnesota, let me know. I'll come hunt with you. Ron, what's the best strategy? Sit on a bucket.
Dove hunting? Yeah, doves are dumber than dirt.
Screen.
Pigeons are smarter than doves.
Did you say that doves are dumber than BAMEs?
Well, basically.
Oh, okay.
I tell you something about the good memory there. A little story about the good memory on Ron Bame.
Uh-oh.
So I ran a dog at the Invitational, and he left me with a goal for another day. And by the time this guy decided that he wanted me to rerun it in utility, the only test I could get in, I live in Wisconsin, the only test I could get it in was in Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
So I look up the test. I go, oh, Ron's judging. That'll be awesome. I'll bring some more beer. So I'm driving out there, and I call him when I'm on my way out there. And I always like to go a day or two early so I can train on the water and make sure my dog is the best prepared that I can give my customer. So I call Ron, and I go, what was it, like 2 days before?
Yeah.
And I go, hey,
when you
make
get
sure you bring an extra cooler of beer when you get in here. But he goes,
where?
Son of a...
I didn't even know I was. I didn't even know I.
Well, in your defense, they asked him, like, what, January of the year before, and said, would you like to come judge? And that was the last he heard. So, but yeah, all of a sudden, Ron shows up in a rental vehicle. He goes, yep, I got a flight last night. Boy, was that expensive.
Yes, and I'll pick on a Navda chapter, not to be mean, but some Navda chapters are not really well organized.
No, they're not.
And as judges, you show up somewhere and they got one room or your credit. They're like, well, we need your credit card. Like, well, no, this room's supposed to be paid for. Well, you know what? It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
And I got to sleep. So you give me your credit card and then you got to get the money back from the chapter. And this particular chapter was not good at follow-up.
They were not very organized, no.
And unfortunately, it's just, and I'm not picking on Navda, it's just sometimes that happens.
Sometimes it happens.
But I was so grateful that Tracy goes, oh, Ron's judging. And she's like, when are you going to get there? I go, where? She goes, to the test. I'm like, what test? Did she tell me? I'm like,
he's like, shit, I'm in Michigan.
what do you think about that? Ooh. I do remember saying I would. Then I start looking at emails. Then I see the email from the director of judges. I'm like, oh yeah, there I am, senior judge. I'll be damned. I'm supposed to be there on Saturday morning. Fortunately, I worked in that direction a lot, and I jumped on a plane and rented a car and showed up just like I was supposed to.
The only one that knew was me.
Yep. And the rest.
I didn't mention a word of it till just now.
That's a great one.
Ron, is that you squeaking the squeaker toy? Is that Taffy? Playing with the
No, that was
toy?
me.
Oh. Taffy's over here laying with 3 big Broncos right in between them. She just loves being cuddled up by them.
Well, they're good for something then, huh?
Hey, I want to hear about Nick Carson's new pup. I want to hear about Nick's pup.
She's out in the garage. I feel bad. I should bring her in, but
She's such a horrible owner.
I know, I'm terrible. I really thought this morning she was going to see some sharptails in the air. I went out chasing them in Wisconsin, and I actually kind of got a late start. We didn't run for very long. My older dog had 2 unproductive points, some good-looking cover, but we didn't see him. But she's doing really well. She was at the cabin all weekend, and she seems to be very relaxed, getting her exposed to lots of stuff. And I don't know. I don't think she could be adjusting any better, really.
Good.
She's
now,
good.
What's your expectations for? This is a young dog. How old is it?
She's only 10 weeks. She's 10 weeks old. So I've got her gun broke. She's force fetched. I mean, everything's done.
You're just now force fetching.
Yeah, I'm a little slow to the force fetch, but she's almost all the way there.
I hope you use the shotgun shell for the ear pinch.
I'm waiting for Brock guy to chime in here, but
Right.
I'm in a different situation this time around. I got my 6-year-old setter, so hopefully he'll we'll do our thing, but Rose is going to get plenty of field time, and she's going to go on some trips and have lots of fun. And if I shoot a bird or she gets on lots of wild birds this fall, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. No expectations though.
Right.
0. And I'm going to be so much more calm and relaxed versus when I had my first dog 6 years ago. That was I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself, but you just don't know what's supposed to happen. And now I've kind of seen at least one dog go through those stages and develop and everything. So yeah, we're gonna have lots of fun this fall.
Hey Judy, was Gunner your first bird dog? I mean, I didn't know you before that.
He was my first bird dog as an adult, but I grew up, as a kid hunting. We had a short hair and a setter when I was growing up.
In Michigan?
No, in Idaho. I moved to Michigan when I was 17. So I grew up in Idaho hunting there. It's a great place, right? Whew. Everything's there. I do miss that.
Have you ever gone back? You ever take a hunting trip back there?
No, but I should. I know, right?
I'd be curious to know what is, Judy, you go first. What's your favorite thing to hunt? What's your favorite hunting trip?
Right now, I really like sharptail.
Yeah, me too.
Sharpies and there's something about native game birds that is always appealing.
Yeah.
So the sharptail are really one of my favorites right now to go after.
How about you, Tracy?
I like rough grouse.
Me too.
It's my favorite thing to hunt.
Do you head up to northern Wisconsin?
I do.
Yeah.
I like anywhere I can go and drink a beer with somebody and go hunting. I don't.
Well, that too.
That's good.
I was when Travis Frank asked me that softball question. He says, "What's your favorite bird to hunt?" And I said, "Pheasants." And they're all thinking like pheasants. And I said, "Yeah, they don't play by the rules. They're loud. They're gaudy. They cackle. They remind me of me." why wouldn't I want to go shoot something as obnoxious as me? And it still is.
They are fun. Very fun.
Judy used to go on a trip with, correct me if I'm wrong, with Lance and McNeil.
Yeah.
And they'd go to Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, you guys just take off and go to Iowa? I didn't even travel at that point yet.
Yeah.
Let's just go to Iowa.
Yeah, we did. It was a blast. We used to go every year. And then, the numbers kind of declined. But that was a lot of great memories hunting in Iowa.
Would that be your first traveling road trips, right?
Yeah. It was Iowa. Yeah.
When did Norquist come into the hunts, or did he?
He did. He joined us, I think, one time. That I remember, just it's been so long. That was way back when I can't remember those things. But he did join us at least one time and shot a hen. No, he didn't.
You gotta buy the first round, you shoot a hen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before the
I've heard that kind of stuff happens sometimes.
No, I know. No, it was one of those deals where we didn't know. I said, that was a hen. And he's like, it wasn't. Well, we never recovered it. So.
Undetermined.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So who's got big trips planned for this fall?
Nothing yet. I'm thinking about maybe Nebraska, doing some sharptail hunting.
Dude, yeah.
But with the COVID thing, kind of puts a damper on our travels.
A lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. I mean, I can't picture hunting like this.
I know, right? You can't smell very good.
Hen.
I don't know how the dogs are supposed to find birds that way.
Hen. I mean, how's that going to work?
I know. So for me, it's going to be a lot around here, but that's kind of typical.
You want to share your Onyx with me?
Sure. If you share yours with me.
Pin swap, the great pin swap.
There you go. We'll make a swap. How about you, Tracy?
I haven't been out to the Plain States for a while. I'm actually going to North Dakota this year, and I'm going to go out to Iowa.
Nice.
I got involved. My daughter I've always been involved in horses, and that's kind of been taking up, a lot of my money. A lot of my hunting money it's my investment in her anti-boys, anti-drugs campaign. So we've been, I'm actually the leader for the Horse and Pony Project this year, but I haven't had a lot to do because, all of our horse shows were canceled. So that's been taking up a lot of my, my financial, my money for my hunting has kind of been going into our horse, but she really enjoys it. I really enjoy it. I haven't enjoyed horses for quite a while, and now we own one, and we're really having fun with that. So I'll get back to hunting. I mean, I still hunt. I go up north and I go grouse hunting. Haven't been out to Iowa for a couple years. They always tell you, like you guys were saying, they always tell you how many birds are out there, and I'm like, well, 0 plus 5 probably is a lot more birds than there was last year. But since there was 0 birds 2 years ago, there probably was more birds when you went out and found 5 last year. But I'm hoping the bird numbers are up. I have a friend that has a place out near Mason City. So I'm planning to maybe go out and visit him a little bit this year and go hunting with Al and go out there. And a friend, I got a VC on his dog last year, and for his tip is taking me to North Dakota, so I'll take it.
Nice. What time are you going to North Dakota?
I think we're going like on either the 17th or the 20th, something like that.
Of October?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
is your plan to do some hunting off this horse? Do you have as this horse will get?
No, she's an evolution. She's kind of neurotic, so I don't bounce like I used to. So no, we're not tackling any of that. But she's a good speed horse. She's a good pleasure horse. So we're just enjoying that, and yeah.
Sean says there's still no birds in Iowa.
Right?
Yes, there is.
Don't tell anybody there's no birds in
I thought I
Iowa.
heard some whispers that it's going to be a good year.
They're all mine.
A couple years ago.
This year than it was last year. They had a pretty good spring. They had a pretty good winter.
Yeah.
But as my friend would say, no, there's no birds in Iowa. Don't go. Don't even bother.
Don't come to Iowa. Because I'm going to Iowa this year.
I forgot that hockey started. I probably won't be because my cable package is real minimal at this point, but hockey's on.
What's the Wild?
Minnesota Wild. It's our hockey team, I guess. But Mike was messaging me last week, and he said, "Are you a fan of the Wild?" And I said, "Can anybody really be a fan of the Wild?"
Okay, we're done.
But I of course am, because I grew up in Minnesota, so that's our thing. But I don't even know what's going on. I don't pay attention. I just come on the Hunter's Happy Hour, and I run dogs.
You're here.
Exactly.
Tracy or Judy, how many? Because Tracy's, in Wisconsin, hunts up north, grouse and woodcock. Judy lives right in the heart of grouse and woodcock. Where else have you chased grouse and woodcock?
Good question.
I haven't. I have not.
Up north, that's about the only place I go.
No. Just out my back door. Because to me, it's like I can do it here.
Yep.
Anywhere. So I want to chase something else. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really gone anyplace
doesn't
else.
like it.
No, I haven't really gone anyplace else for grouse and woodcock, except for, I found some places last year. We found some places we can hunt woodcock, kind of closer to our house and up north, which is about 2 hours away. But I go up north. That's about it.
Wait, what does this one say?
I'm guessing that you must say Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I'm from Chicago, for God's sakes. Wisconsin. All right.
Yeah, I think you're saying it okay. I really do.
No, I was not looking good this year. Stop telling your friends. Stop broadcasting that.
Sounds like Iowa's just the place to be.
No, Iowa. Don't even bother going.
Ron, well, you've hunted rough grouse down in the southeast.
I've hunted them in the Appalachians. I've hunted them in New York. I've hunted them in New Brunswick, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Look at this guy go.
Yeah.
Not Manitoba.
Are they just as humbling in every state?
Did you say Canada?
Except for Canada.
You haven't been
They're
there
kind
yet?
of dumb in Canada, aren't they?
In Canada, it was only because Ken Whitney, Judy knows Ken. Well, you know Ken too.
Okay.
And Ken Whitney and I went up there for a duck hunt, and we brought our wire hairs. And the guide told us that, he said, if you get some, if you get back, you can go out chasing rough grouse. And basically walked down a logging trail, and our two heathens just ran through the woods.
Roughshod.
So I think they weren't like our rough grouse here south of the border, whatever parallel that is.
A lot of tree hopping.
Yeah, there was some tree hopping, but these two dogs were so uncooperative that they made the grouse flush pretty gamey.
Interesting.
If we had finished dogs, they probably went like this, like, hey, there's one over there. The big dumb bird sitting here. I don't know why he's looking at me. But when I was bear hunting up in Ontario one time, Manitoba, I was coming out of a bear woods, and there was a rough grouse just on the trail, like walking 3 steps to my one, going like this.
Who's this guy? Eh?
God, I wish I had a shotgun.
I saw a rough grouse this morning, and it really odd. It was done with my sharp tail run. Didn't find any of those, but I saw a rough grouse just standing in the middle of this, like basically it was like a mowed lawn, just clipped grass, and it was. You could tell he wasn't real comfortable being there, but it's always fun to see grouse.
Yeah, it is.
Don't shoot on the Canadian grouse. Yeah. Well, first of all, they're not Canadian. They're rough grouse.
Humble brag for sure. Yeah. Well, Kevin, what do you guys call them up there? You call them stick chickens or thunder chickens? Kevin's up in Canada.
I don't know what they call them up there. It's either partridge or grouse.
No, they've got some other name for them. I guarantee it. I've seen enough YouTube videos to know.
Canada grouse.
Grouse. There you go.
Nick, look, YouTube is no way to learn.
Or can we
Canada
call them? Sean's getting booted.
Gone. Wait, I got to click on the new comments. Let me see what's up there. Let's see.
Pine pigeon. There's a good one.
There's a good one.
No, I don't say
Pine pigeon.
No. Judy, let me hear about the pointer a little bit.
Oh, she's nice. Yeah,
First and only, or your second?
This is my second. Yeah.
Second. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because the only reason we really got her is because, well, I do all the training and I do most of the hunting. So the Weimaraners, they're really a kind of a one-person dog when you're hunting. They hunt for the person that trains them and takes them hunting, right?
Yeah.
So when my husband and I are hunting together, he's usually walking by himself and the dogs are in front of me. So when we had our first pointer, that's not the case with a pointer. A pointer will hunt for whoever has a gun. That's just how they're geared.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. They just love to go. So when he passed, and that's probably 8 years now, and Vince finds himself walking the fields alone, he said, the next dog we get, let's get another pointer because I would like to have a dog hunting in front of me. So that's why we ended up with the pointer. And of course, he was supposed to train the dog, and so she's mine. But she will hunt for him. She'll hunt for anyone with a gun. But she's very nice. And honestly, she was a big surprise because she's one of the most versatile dogs I've ever had. And versatile meaning she loves the water. I mean, she is a nut about the water. In fact, when I got her, I wasn't planning on doing any Navda testing with her, maybe natural ability, just because that's fun to do, right?
Yeah.
And she just naturally did a duck search without me even exposing her to birds and water. She just went out and swam looking for stuff at like 4 months.
Wow.
So I was like, this is going to be easy. All she needs to be is broke. She loved to retrieve. She loves, I could have actually probably utility tested her when I natural ability tested her.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. So I'm like, oh, she likes this. I like it. Let's do it. So she was a 18-month-old utility prize one and a 2-year-old versatile champion.
Awesome.
And she's great. Funniest dog too. Just a clown.
And
So.
Did you get them?
Your dogs are house dogs too, right? I mean, your
Oh
dogs.
yeah, they're house dogs. Yeah.
Because there's that stigma with pointers because of the field trial world. It's like, oh yeah, they're just single focused. They don't. I don't know if you want to give the breeder a shout out. What?
Yeah, I was curious. Where did you pick up this?
Is there more of those pointers out there than people would think?
I really think so. In fact, my other pointer had an off switch. This pointer totally has an off switch. She's totally horseback bred too. She's not grouse dog, cover dog bred. She's horseback bred. Wow. I got her from a fella named Bob Barker out in Oklahoma, Open Range Kennels. Great guy. And how I came to get her is I saw Bob posted a video of these 6-week-old puppies running through his field while he was on a quad. And I was looking at those puppies going, look at how athletic these little 6-week-old puppies are. I mean, they were running like little adults and cracking their tails. And oh man, I think we need to get one of these. So, yeah. But no, to answer your question, she's totally a great house dog. Totally an off switch. In fact, all my dogs are like that. They just lay around and sleep all day, really.
Yeah.
I think some of that, there's nature and nurture, but I think a lot of it is just nurture.
It is. I believe so too. It is.
I want an English pointer really bad, but that piece of them being kind of wiry and because my personality, I'm predisposition.
Don't worry about it.
Well, and I'm kind of a wiry guy myself. That's really why I like, I have, my lab. She doesn't look it now, but she's like a rocket ship attached to a Ferrari, and there's a piece of me that wants that in a pointing dog too. But I also like a dog that comes in and does this.
Well, that's what mine do. Yeah, that's what she does. She just lays around.
You did it with her, Doug. You can do it with the pointer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's that?
You did it with her, Doug. You can do it with the pointer.
Yeah, she's a special kind of crazy too. I've had a lot of labs, and she's
I love that.
She's a special kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's how my pointer is. She's just funny as heck.
Now I'm going to ask this question, and this is to everybody. It depends on how many dogs you've had. When we talk about dogs with off switches, and I think I've been very fortunate. I still think a lot of it is just nurture. But has anybody ever had the dog that just there wasn't an off switch? That there wasn't one?
Not me.
Tracy?
Sold one.
Huh?
I just sold one.
You know what happens though? That story, when you hear that and you hear the breed, it's like clickbait on internet. If somebody goes, oh my God, those dogs don't mature till they're 5.
Oh yeah.
Find 5 people that have one that go, no, I did.
Yeah. Right.
And I've never had one. Not that they all came in the house, but they all came in the kennel. They went in Virginia, they've been on the road, slept in bed. So Tracy, if you had a dog that you just were like, okay, it's Tartar. I mean, it's just not going to ever.
With the dog that I just sold, he's a really sweet dog, and he had a lot of personality, but he had an off switch in the house. But I own 15 dogs. They got to learn to live in the kennel, and he could not. He'd get himself so worked up in the kennel, he'd make himself shit.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I can't handle that. I needed a dog that's mentally stable enough that they can live in both situations.
Right.
And he could not. And I found him a home. People love him. He is lives in the house with them, and he's a great house dog for them. He's just not good in the kennel. He just wasn't. He would pace until he would pee on something, poop on something, what have you. And it wasn't fair to him because then, he fell behind my other dogs because of that problem. I just wasn't paying attention to him, and I thought he had he does have a little mental instability somewhere along the line that makes him do that. And I just can't have a dog that lives with me that does that because, when we go hunting, I take the dog truck. I'm not bringing 8 dogs in my hotel room. They have to sleep in the truck, and they have to learn to sleep in the truck. I do have house dogs. We have 5 dogs in the house plus a litter of puppies right now. So I do have house dogs. Most of my dogs can rotate between the house and the kennel. When we're up north, they're all in the house, because we don't have a kennel up there. So they do have to be house dogs, but they also have to learn to live in the kennel, and they have to learn that they're going to be okay when I'm not with them 24/7.
The thing that
mental instability that brings that.
The thing that I struggle with my labs is that they live in the house, they sleep in the house. The ones still sleep in the kitchen.
Bed in the house.
Yeah, when we go to hunt test, the dogs sleep in the truck. So when they spend the night in the truck, it's almost like they come out of the box in the morning a little on edge. Mm-hmm. So it throws off the rest of test day, right? So it takes me a while to get them kind of back in their normal headspace after spending a night in the truck. Where it's like, okay, we're going to go to a test. I got to find a hotel that has a dog. They can have the dog in the room next to me and on the bed just because they don't do well transitioning back out and sleeping in the truck.
Sorry, I bumped everything. So, Ron, you remember that one dog I tested in Ohio? Remember Amy? My white liver short hair.
Give me a little more data.
My white liver short hair.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I lost her probably 15, 18 years ago. Yeah. I have not been attached to a dog like I was attached to her until this one came along. She's a year old.
Yeah.
And she prefers a king size bed. She's a little spoiled. Right? I did spoiled.
Well, I spent many a night at the Harmeyer compound judging dogs. And it's when you go in the house and there's 5 or 6 dogs just running free in the house, begging for a little food. Somebody wants a spot to sleep. Somebody wants your bed. You got some pretty good dogs because they all just kind of figure it out. They're like, all right, I guess I don't get in Ron's bed, but God damn. They all find a spot, Well,
early on, I decided that I have 2 kids. Well, if you count my husband and my father-in-law, I have 4. But I always say I have a daughter that's 14 going on 40 and a son that's 19 going on 12. Early on, I decided, a good way to not get my kids to sleep with me is to give them a dog to sleep with. It's worked so far.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, so they stay in my mudroom during the day, and they all come up to bed with us at night, the ones that are in the house. And I was really funny because when I went to I've been a Navda judge for a very long time. I think I became a judge in 93 or 94. 1993.
You were well before me. Yeah.
My judges number is 181, and now they're like in the 20,000. So
I feel real proud that mine's 1236. And when I look up on the Navda stuff, I'm like going, wow, I'm one of the old guys.
That's a long number to remember for the ones that have them now, right?
Well, 1236 is 1, 2, and 3 equals 6, so I can remember that.
Right.
But most judges, you guys, the Harmeyers and quite a few other ones have been at it for a long time. Well,
we did it. When Steve and I apprenticed, we did it a little differently.
Yeah, you paid attention and he didn't.
Well, I did it in a year, and oh my gosh, that was a funny phone call. I hope Steve's not listening.
Yeah, he won't.
So I was apprenticing, and I saw 112 dogs in that first year.
Wow.
And Steve and I were allowed to apprentice together, and we were allowed to apprentice under Al. were the first year. So I apprenticed in the fall, and then we had the whole winter off, and then I apprenticed the whole next year. So Al became a judge. So the first year that we really put ourselves into it, we went wherever Al went because then our gas was paid for. So, you know, it was simple math, right? So we were gone like almost every weekend because, you know, when you first become a judge, you get invited. Well, if people like you get invited to a lot of places. Mm-hmm. So we were traveling all the time. But anyway, we Jim Moe was a director of judge development. God rest his soul. What a kind fellow he was. And he called me and he says, hey, you know, he says, you know, we're thinking about approving you. Do you think Steve would have a problem going another year if we approved you? Oh, no. It'll be just fine. He won't care. I'm so mean.
Well, let me tell you something. From the Harmeyer clan, everybody knew Al. Al was in it before you two were.
Yeah.
And when I met you and your name was Harmeyer, I assumed you were his daughter.
Yeah, most people do. Well,
right.
Some people in town assume that he's the old guy with the young wife because they always see us together. And my husband he's an engineer, so they never see my husband and I together. They always see Al and I together.
Right. And then
when I got pregnant, I was like, now, Al, now you're the old guy with the young pregnant wife. So perfect.
And anyway. Of course, he was probably at the bar going, yeah, no problem. But oh, sorry. You know what? I'm going to let that comment go. Yeah. How'd that go? Yeah. Oh.
So Kevin has reminded us that we've hit our 2 hour mark.
Hour 2.
Yeah,
2 hours.
I know it's hard to believe. So
wow.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. We'll probably sit around and hear more stories of stupid things that Ron's done that we can use against him at a later date. But I want to thank you both for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. I know that everybody really appreciates when we have the opportunity to answer dog questions.
Yeah.
What I'm going to ask all of you watching to do is, if you haven't yet, make sure you give us a thumbs up. And after we get done and we end the stream, throw in the comments one thing that you are really focused on improving on with your dog this year before season starts.
Cool.
So if it's working on steadiness, if it's working on obedience, working on being quiet in the blind, whatever it is that you're working on with your dog right now and trying to get tuned up before season starts, drop it in the comments when we end this, and we will talk to you guys all later.
Thanks
you
for
guys.
having me. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, lady.
Bye-bye.
You classed us up this week. Thank you.
All right. Is everybody else gone?
Nope.